I wanted to say a few words about cloth, textiles, objects in general, and memory. I was talking about memory the other day, so I just want to revisit that. This is the same project I'm working on, and one of the things that I was looking at as I inspected the clothes to see the jeans to see what needed to be repaired is this pocket. And so I don't know if you can see this from your angle, but there's wear that's almost turning into a hole on the pocket, and it's following a very particular line. It goes from here to here to here and then back up. And there's a little line right here as well. So it tells me that there's either a phone that's that shape or a wallet that gets worn in the same place and in the same way every time. And there's also a stretching that's happened to the fabric here. So the fabric is retaining a memory of how it's been used, which is, I mean, we know that. My sweater that I am wearing today is one that I repair, and I repair often. I don't know if you can see the colors or not. I like using color to show my repair work. And most of my sweaters, this is one of the first places that they're going to wear out, is on the sleeves. It's just because I'm either pulling them up or pulling them down, and they get used lovingly. I like maintaining the memory of some of the holes. Like here's one hole, another hole, another hole, another hole, and I just sew around it to stop it from continuing to spread. But then I turn it into a piece of art. This one's another one. You know, the hole is still there in the center, and I've just simply worked around the hole to make it into a piece of art, and at the same time reinforce the fabric by doing that. My underarms have tons of work done on them, and so my sweater tells the story of its use. It tells the story of my relationship to it. These jeans tell the story of the client's relationship to their jeans, and particular, you know, one of the ways that they use their jeans to hold their items. Just so you know where we are right now in the project, I've sewn using an embroidery stitch that you probably can't see because of the color of the thread, but it makes a crisscross so that what happens is that because I'm doing raw edge patching, the edge will not fray. That's just a technique thing. So almost all of the fabric actually that I work with is either donated to me because I do some community care projects, or you know, maybe I have family members or friends who just donate fabric to me because they don't need it or use it. I also do art exhibits, and I do mending, and I do creating. I create textile products too, and so I'm always using upcycled fabric. And it's either the donated, or I go to thrift shops and I will purchase fabric there. I'm primarily working with plant-based fabric. Sometimes I'm using whatever's been donated to me, and that could be any kind, including synthetic. And I try and give at least those synthetics a new life by putting them into other projects. One of the things that you have to be conscious of when you're using fabric that has had a life with other users, with other people who've worn them or made use of them, is that that fabric will also retain memory. And I'm not just talking about the physical memory. So I'm not just talking about the way in which it's been worn or worn down. I'm also talking about the way it carries other forms of memory, energetically carries other forms of memory. It's like if you've ever interacted with, well, okay, so an example that I like to use commonly is like, Two people have been arguing in a room, they leave the room, you walk in a few minutes later, you can feel something palpable in the space, even though the two people who were arguing are not there anymore. Rooms, physical objects, cloth retain energetic memory. It's why I like to work with clients outside. There's more flow of the energy. Energy doesn't get stuck in the room, and where it often accumulates is in the corners or in underneath furniture that doesn't move. And you use somebody who's doing either body work, energy work, or counseling have to be conscious of that energy still palpably being in the room. So, if you're working with somebody and you have another client coming in another 15 minutes to a half hour, then going through and clearing the room, open the window a little bit, do a little bit of sweeping of the room physically and energetically, light a candle, burn some herbs that have some smoke if your clients can tolerate that. It's like there's different ways to be able to do that kind of clearing of the energy, shifting of the energy. We do that with our body. When I was teaching historically people with body work, reminding them to not just wash their hands for the cleanliness of it, but to clear the energy. So when I pick up an object, just because of the sensitivity of my own body, I will often feel if there's something that's kind of icky, sticky, resinous energetically in an object. The first place I will feel it is in my joints, in my hands and in my forearms. I'll feel pain, and that tells me that the object is holding something that needs to be cleansed or cleared before I personally want to either work with it or make use of it. Sometimes I'll pick it up as sort of like an emotional energy. It's like just registering it on an empathic level. You might feel sadness that's not yours, or you might feel frustration or anger that isn't yours, or something else. So those energies are being retained as memory, layers of memory in the objects. So if you're working with textiles that are secondhand and you want to upcycle them, it's important to, yes, physically cleanse the textile before you use it, especially to clean off all the kind of chemicals that might have been used in the washing process before they went into the thrift store. But to also create an energetic cleanse, even if you're not sensitive to what the textile is holding as memory, you can assume that it probably has some form of memory attached to it. So there's a few different ways you can do that. One of the ways is to work with the natural elements. So give it a sun bath. Take it out and let it hang in the sun. Or put it on the ground, like put it out on a patch of grass or a patch of clean meadow, and now you have the elements, the wind, the sun, and the earth working with that piece of textile. Or when you wash it, dry it on a line in your backyard or on your balcony, again, so that you can have the sun and the wind and the elements. You might even let it get washed in the rain. So after you've washed it physically, then take it out and let it have wild moving water wash through it, or put it in a stream, and again, let the wild moving water carry and energetically cleanse that particular piece of textile. There's some Slavic countries, and I've forgotten exactly where there's the yearly cleaning of carpets, where you take the carpet and you bring it outside in the snow in the winter, and I think they do it on the New Year, to clean out the old energy from last year and to refresh the carpet. So they beat the carpets on in the snow, and that's a beautiful practice. I'm actually going to try that with some of my textiles here, since we've got snow for several more months. So those are some of the techniques you could use. You could also make an herbal bath for your textile. So, fill your bathtub, put your new textile items, clothing, whatever it is that you've picked up from the thrift store or somebody's given you as a hand-me-over or a hand-me-down. Put it into the bathtub with the water, and then put in herbs. It could be flower petals, it could be mint, it could be, you choose the level of cleanse you want to use and the kind of energy you want to impart into it with your relationship with whatever plants. Like in Ukraine, a common herb that they would use for smoke clearing, obkiruwanya, is wormwood and or mugwort, which grow, naturally in the environment. It actually grows naturally here where I am too. And so make a bath with an herb that might be common to your ancestors or common to your region that feels cleansing, that can then also do the work of cleansing your textile. And then when you go to rinse it under the shower. Again, moving water helps to move and clear that energy. And bonus, if you happen to have well water that you're working with, that's natural water from the earth. So these are just a few ideas that you can do to change up the energy and the memory that your textile might be holding, and then you can begin to create your new relationship with that item. Just a few thoughts.